Earlier, I was talking about that if you water something too hard, the sprinkler will create fungus on it. And what's been happening here is the sprinkler that's been going here has been hitting the sun hemp so hard, and along with the deficiency it has going on, everybody come take a close look at this plant and just look at it and tell me what's happening here. If you guys see what's happening on this plant, if you look, what your observations are. Right off the bat, tell me what's happening on it. Look at the whole plant and point out anything you see on it to me. That'll throw you off or maybe be obvious. Everybody come take a look. Like, and anything, there's nothing that's wrong you can tell me. What do you see that's affecting this plant in some way?
It has like, yeah, the
fungus on it?
Yeah, the fungus or powdery mildew.
Turn the leaf over. Did you look on the bottom? You see anything crawling on there?
Yeah.
So those are called mealybugs. I want to point something else that's real obvious out that everyone is probably missing or did not pay attention to. If you look right here, it was right in front of me a second ago, there are stink bug population covering this whole thing, killing it. So that is a baby. This is one of the, these are the juvenile stages right here. So you have to learn them. When it's young, it doesn't look like a stink bug at all. You see it? Yep. That's a juvenile stage. It goes from this little black thing and real small, it'll be all over them. And then it'll go to another stage, which you just saw a second ago, up there on it, right? That's the second stage that you can see right there in my hand, where it's starting to get a shell on it. Now it can produce a smell like a skunk. It's a stink bug. It'll squirt you when you try to pick it up. In fact, my hand smells like it right now. But now, look guys, here's the stage right here. Nobody touch it, but get the camera up on this. These are the adults. And Johan, grab those. Grab them both. Wait, now smell your hand.
Oh yeah.
Smell his hand, guys. They're called stink bugs. So they squirt you, let her smell your hand. It's bad. No, they flew off. Okay, you can smell it in the air now. So that's how those guys protect themselves, right, as a stink bug. But let me show you what's really going on with this plant. There's a lot more than you guys see what happens here. One, we have the fungus because it's being attacked by the mealybug underneath it. And you can see that there's little fungal material. It also has what's called powdery mildew. That powdery mildew is from in the heat of the sun, it getting a sprinkler beating on it and ripping these little holes through the leaves because it also has other things going on it. Now, here's what we're really gonna look at. Let's bend it over like this and let's look down at the bottom here. If you look close, guys, what do you see right here? Red ants, biting red ants. And if you look at the bottom here, you see another type of leaf hopper. You see it right here? There's brown ones and there's green ones. Watch it, I've seen it jump. Yeah. It's called a leaf hopper. These have a symbiosis with this red ant. You see them all attacking my sickle? They're attacking my sickle because these guys are protecting the leaf hopper down here. They're bringing it in and out of the ground in its larval stages. The leaf hoppers are sucking sugars from the plant. Those sugars are then depleting the plant, they're accumulating, and then they turn into the food for the fungus. Now the other creatures, the stink bug, is also sucking juices out of the thing, but it's also feeding on the fungus and creating it and bringing it up the plant. So all these things are going on in this plant, and this is your telltale sign. You look for ants. So that you see this leaf hopper everywhere, watch when I put my hand, they're gonna jump. The little ones can't quite jump yet. So what you would do here is you would come through here while it's dry with diatomaceous earth. Boom, a little sprinkle of it on there. Target the ants first before you pull this plant or anything. This is still a little too far. We're gonna pull it. I'm gonna show you full circle with this. But what else you would do is you would then take peppermint soap and you would wash the whole plant with peppermint soap. And you would hand squash any of the bugs that you can before they can jump away. The same way we showed you to grab things and stick them in a bucket. The peppermint soap, by spraying it on top of all the stink bugs and getting everything before they can fly away, what it'll do is it will enable them, not enable them to fly, and it'll suffocate them. So now you knock these guys out, you targeted the ants, and then you've got the fungus at the same time. The problem with this is this fungus will spread to all of our papayas, all of our cabbage, everything else. So that's why we want to pay attention to it as a whole together. And when we see things like this, I have this way where I see everything when I walk around here. And I can point it out to you guys. But the idea is to get you guys thinking the same way. To be able to come here and say, oh, look, there's aphid, there's stink bug on there. There's all these different things that are on there. And one thing we can do right off the bat here.
Eddie, what kind of plant is that?
This, I'm going to share with you guys. These seeds we're still going to use somewhere. Yeah. So what we're going to do with this, we know our ants are all still there. Our ants are going to nurture our little bugs there. Our next move would be to come with some peppermint soap. Look, they're eating a stink bug. That's why the stink bugs are on the top, because they don't get protection from the ants. So I'm going to go this way. I don't want to get ants or anything on anybody. What we do with this is we throw it in a hot, isolated spot where the ants can't protect them. And then we'd spray it down with peppermint soap. You see all these leaf hoppers right here? The ants are still taking care of them. Some of them are their sheddings. We'd come out here, we'd spray it down with peppermint soap. See all the chunks of them right here? Squash them with your fingers, do whatever you got to do so that population doesn't hang on. And then we'd go back and deal with the ants separately, but just spraying them with peppermint soap, squashing those bugs out of it, leaving this in the shade to dry. This is called sun hemp. And when we talk about the hemp age, everybody thinks that all the hemp that's protecting the ground and putting legumes back into the ground has something to do with Pacalolo or cannabis. Wrong. These guys are just trying to sell snake oil CBD. The reality is this right here, this is hemp. And it's a legume, means it pulls nitrogen out of the atmosphere and it'll fix it into the ground. And it's known as a hemp because of the properties of the stem itself, the strips that make hemp fiber. So a lot of people are like, don't really know that. So one, it has a bunch of uses like that, but the main thing for us is it's a nitrogen fixer. And what you'll notice is when we do get, actually that wasn't big enough of a sickle for me to get that with, but when we pull that root out of there, we'll notice on the bottom, it'll be covered with rhizomes. Those rhizomes, bacteria will live inside those areas and pull nitrogen right out of the atmosphere and put it into the ground and feed that plant with nitrogen that it doesn't have to take from the soil. So now if we take it and grow it in fields, chop it down, put it right back on the ground and throw wood chips on top of it, boom, that nitrogen is going right back into the ground. With organic farming, they'll grow a whole field as a cover crop and then they'll till it back into the ground. That to me, they're making the same mistake because they're tilling again. And that can be, that works, but not nearly as good as being able to create a soil web on the long term, growing things, putting them right down and just covering them instead of tilling the land and breaking up those networks that have been built over time. So when we walk around, we want to look at plants and go, oh, wow, are there any ants on it? We'll find them on bananas, we'll find them on pineapple. Anywhere you see ants, there's a problem. And what it means is those ants are nurturing something on that plant that's pulling sugars from it. They're known as ant cows. The ants rub their butts and take sugar from them. And they eat that sugar, so they're farming these ants. And in return, they give them protection. So they're like, stink bugs, stay away from these guys. Or whatever else is there or is gonna eat them or something like that. So I think that's kind of important to know for you guys. You're like, oh, there's red ants here. If you guys found a pile of red ants on the hill, look at the taro next to it. More than likely, it's got mealybug in it. They're gonna set their hive up around where there's a food source. So if there's a plant that's gone bad, you're gonna find a red ant nest around it. So that's kind of the ways we wanna deal with that. If we flood the hive out, get rid of the ants, go through the process of getting rid of it, spray some peppermint soap, kill a bunch of the ants that are there, and manage those hives and make them move on to a different spot, then that's the balance that we're finding for it, is like actually targeting the problem rather than just putting a Band-Aid on it. So, and the way you guys recognize that is looking for the ants. Looking for the yellow I showed you guys on the top of the leaves, that's really important. These are the things we want to be looking for in our everyday when we're doing stuff. Every once in a while, you'll see an arugula, like I think I showed you guys one the other day, and what had happened is it either had a cutworm in the bottom or someone broke a branch in the wrong spot. It'll get a rot in it, it'll start to die. When we see those, just pull them out and compost them right back in. If there's arugula all around it, don't compost it there. Move it to a different spot in the chips and bury it, like we did with the kale leaves. I want you guys all to look at those kale leaves that you buried. And if you weren't a part of that, then show whoever wasn't a part of that where they're at. Show these guys where we buried kale leaves when we do that, because I want you guys to look at them in a week from now and notice how they're all covered in mycelium, or they're eaten by earthworms already. So we're recycling that right back into the whole picture of the hill. I don't want to overwhelm you guys, but I think that's probably enough. Oh yeah, one last thing. We're gonna look at the plants on the table right now.